Hello, I am Aifel of Lorlin, and let's talk about Maestro and some limits that Lotto has for notes, how Maestro handles that, and a limit Maestro has for notes. So, first of all, Lotto can maximum play 64 notes at the same time. So that means that if I do like this, and I play. And now I would like to have an idea of how many notes it's playing. So I go into options and I go into miscellaneous and check show polyphony. And then down here we get a little counter that show how many notes are playing right now. And what the peak has been. So let's play. With ABC preview, of course. So you see it has played 37 notes at the same time already, and it's only 4 instruments. And the limit in Lotto is 64. For some users, it might be a little bit lower. Sometimes some old versions in Lotto had set it to less than 64, like 32 or something. And but that you can easily remedy by going to the Lotto settings, and there's an ini file there where it says how many notes it will play at max time, and just set it to 64, which is the maximum. So you see, for a classical or for an song like this, it can easily run up to, if not 64, then close to 64. So be careful when you put a lot of notes into a song. What will happen when it becomes over the 64 is that some notes just won't be played. And you have to know that 64 is the limit of sounds that Lotto can play at the same time. That means that if people are clapping, cheering, and etc., that counts for sound also. But I suspect there is in Lotto some prioritization system that actually prioritizes the music a little bit. Um, I'm not 100% sure on how that works though, or if there is really such a system. But remember, you should be mindful of that if you have a song with a lot of notes. So there's a limitation in Maestro here, because you remember we talked about attack and sustain and decay. The decay in Lotto is linear, which means that this part here is completely straight. And in Maestro, it's not straight. It is like this. So it will sort of sound the same due to the way it's tuned, but the problem is that in Maestro, when you count polyphony notes, it will count it still when it's playing right here. That still counts as one note that is playing, even though the next note on the same instrument might have started, or two notes, or etc. So you see, it very easily can come to count a little too high, and I have written that in the tooltip here for polyphony. So you might remember that. So it's a kind of a rough guide only. It will probably count a little too high. So if you are about 55 or 60, then it's probably a good number for a song, because it's probably then lower, and then there's some room for clapping and cheering and stuff like that throughout the song. Another thing is that this polyphony counter, if you're skipping in the song, for example, if we play here, you see we don't get over the peak of 37. But if we start skipping while it's playing, then the notes where we skip from will still be decaying in decay phase while the new notes start, and then it might actually again count a little too high. Let's demonstrate. Okay, I'm a little bad at demonstrating. I didn't get it over 37, but it sometimes does, trust me. You should be mindful of that also. Of course, it might be a bit tedious, but the best way to do it is to press stop, so it gets down to 0 again, and then just play and just see what the polyphony is for the whole song. Instead of skipping and that stuff. So another limit that Lotto has is number of simultaneous notes played per instrument. So if we, instead of these 4 lutes, only had 1 lute, and we put them on still the same 4 tracks, you will see that right now it will probably start by playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 notes at the same time. Although I think the red note up here will get transposed down onto this note, so it's probably only 8 notes. And Lotto will only play 6 notes per instrument, and that's a hard limit. So in this case, you can either be very careful, but there's also another option, that is to trust Maestro. Because Maestro has a system for throwing away notes, so it gets down to 6, and the system is very smart. It was co-developed by Duracell, and it actually will make in most cases, some sound decisions about which notes to remove, so you don't really diminish the song or the music too much. But of course, ideally you would maybe not place so many notes on the same instrument. And there's another thing about this, and that is how notes at the same time is counted. Because if you have some notes, let's say this is a note, this is a note, this is a note, on the same instrument. So they don't start at the same time, but what Maestro does in the background is that it splits them up in chords like this. Oops, that should had been at the start of the blue, and then one here. So there's 2 chords here. Here is one with 1 note, and here's one with 6 notes. So even though this started before the others, it's still only gonna play 6 notes here. And let's have another note actually. It's still only gonna play 6 notes of those 7 there. So it might remove, for example, this one. And that's how that works. The way it works here is it's gonna tie these 2 together, like in musical notation, a tie. And so it's just gonna be played as one continuous note, but in reality, the ABC system is gonna send 2 separate notes to it and just tell them that they are tied together. So don't stop playing, just continue into the next part of the note. So that's another little technicality. So I think this was enough for this video. See you in another video.